Hello friends, it's Mike Williams. I pulled this presentation together to answer a number of questions I received in response to my last couple of videos. So I will talk a bit more about the numerology around the Beatles, and specifically the number 11 and the 9/11 date. I will also step through some additional images of Faul's feet, which in my opinion is compelling proof of biological Paul's replacement. And I will finish up with a video showing how latex and cosmetics can completely transform someone's outward appearance. But before we get into the presentation, I would like to thank those that attended Billy's Freshen Up concert for their feedback and comments, where you confirmed the scripted nature of the show. In particular, that segment of the concert where Billy reads and responds to the signs in the audience. A number of folks wrote me and said the dialogue was exactly the same as I noted in my recent concert review, proving these concerts are nothing more than corporate templates and lacking in spontaneity. Billy, like all other entertainers, are actors who work on behalf of the pyramid of power and its agenda. Now, this presentation is not for anyone who has not done the base research into the McCartney conspiracy. If you are new to Paul is Dead, I recommend you watch and listen to my other presentations and interviews to get yourself up to speed. If you are a troll, hater, or in deep denial and you attempt to comment, you will be blocked and banned. I am not into wasting my time with people that bring no value to the table. And so with that, let's get started. As I mentioned, I will discuss three topics: John, George, Paul, and Billy, and the number 11 and the September 11th date. We will also take a look at some additional images of Faul's feet and draw some conclusions. And I will finish with a video showing how latex transformed Michael Jackson to look like a completely different person. Let's move to the next slide. In my Freshen Up concert review, I misspoke and stated George Harrison died on November 11th. I should have said George passed away on November 29th. But as I will show you, November 29th regroups to 11. In numerology, the number 11 represents a pinnacle of spiritual realization, as well as representing the twin pillars of Freemasonry. 11 also represents polarity. When one walks to the center of the pillars, this means the positive upward path was chosen. And as I mentioned in my previous presentation, I have seen the number 11 appear whenever something or someone is concluding or transitioning. So with that in mind, let's talk about George, John, Billy, and Paul, and the number 11. George Harrison's date of death was November 29, 2001. November is the 11th month. The day, 29, is 2 plus 9, which equals 11. Both 11 and 22 are master numbers in numerology. John's date of death was December 8, 1980. December is the 12th month. 1 plus 2 equals 3. We add that to the day, which is 8. 3 plus 8 equals 11. The year in which John died, which was 1980, is 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 0, which equals 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. So John's date of death is 11/9 or 9/11. 9/11, as we discussed in the interview with Richard Balducci, is a representation of Baphomet, as above, so below. And with biological Paul, if we assume his date of death to be September 11th, 1966, we have the 9/11 date in play again. Now let's take a moment and take a look at Billy. Per memoirs, Billy is 5 years older than Bio Paul. Paul was born on June 18th, 1942. Therefore, Billy was born in 1937. Per Wikipedia, the song Birthday, which is credited to McCartney, was largely written during a recording session at EMI on September 18th, 1968. September is the 9th month. The day was the 18th. 1 plus 8 equals 9. When we bring the month and day together, we can see Billy encoded 99 into the song. Therefore, it is my belief that Billy is telling us his birthday is September 9th, 1937. When we take September 9th, 1937 and break it down, we get the month equals 9, the day equals 9, the month plus the day, 9 plus 9 equals 18, 1 plus 8 equals 9. Then when we break down the year of his birth, 1937, we get 1 plus 9 plus 3 plus 7, which equals 20. 20 equals 2 plus 0. 2 plus 0 equals 2. 2 can be broken down to 1 plus 1, or 11. An alternate way to do this in numerology is equate the 9s to 0. Therefore, 1937 would be 1 plus 3 plus 7, which equals 11. Billy's date of birth regroups to 9/11. Therefore, 9/11 is also encoded into Billy. In the show with Richard Balducci, Richard explained to us that 9/11 is a representation of Baphomet. When we convert 9/11 into its Roman numeral equivalent, we get IX, which equals 9, and XI, which equals 11. When 9 and 11 are combined, we have IXXI. The I's represent the twin pillars of Freemasonry, and the XX is a sigil for Baphomet, who represents duality and as above so below, or spiritual alchemy. This is why the 9/11 date is so important to the occultist. It is a form of magic and ritual which is designed to steer consciousness in order to manifest the outcomes and the will of the controllers. I recommend that when you have time, research all the significant events, speeches, etc. that were directly linked to the 9/11 date. And remember, many times the date is encoded and needs to be regrouped, as I showed with John Lennon's date of death and Billy's date of birth. And before we leave the numbers, we don't want to leave Ringo out. His date of birth was July 7th, or 77. 77 is also a master number in numerology. And Richard was knighted when he was 77. Coincidence? I'll let you decide. And now let's move to the next part of this presentation and take another look at Faul's feet. Based on my Faul 6 toes presentation, there are 3 different versions of McCartney's feet. We have a McCartney with 6 toes. We have another version with 5 toes with hallux extensus, meaning the big toe is cocked upward, and yet another iteration also with 5 toes but with normal looking feet. Some people have questioned whether one of the images I showed in my Faul 6 toes analysis was mirrored. For example, the cocked big toe is on the right foot in some images and on the left in others, and we will examine that image in the next few slides. Fellow researchers and subscribers have forwarded additional images of Faul's feet to me, so we have more to look at and examine. These images show we indeed have versions of McCartney which are not biological Paul. It is my belief these additional images were intentionally disseminated to condition the public and misdirect researchers. And I will show you 2 John Lennon sketches which I believe present important clues. The bottom line as we go through all this is to stay focused on bio Paul's feet. That needs to be our reference point, because biological Paul had 5 toes with no foot conditions or abnormalities. If we do this, we should conclude there were multiple Paul McCartneys. And now let's move to the next slide. Let's take a look and see if this image from a previous presentation switched the cocked big toe from the right foot to the left foot because of image mirroring. On the left, we can see Faul from the Abbey Road cover has 5 toes and his right big toe is cocked upward. This is a foot condition known as hallux extensus. However, the photo on the right shows the big toe on his left foot is cocked upward. In other words, the hallux extensus switched from the right foot to the left foot. Was the photo on the right mirrored to switch the feet, meaning everything on the right is now on the left? In other words, did the right toe become the left toe due to the image being doctored? Let's move to the next slide and take a closer look. When analyzing images, it's important to look at other details. They almost always give us clues. For example, we can see in this image that Faul's belt buckle is facing toward the right side of his body. This is the typical orientation when a man wears a belt. We can also see Faul has a wedding band on his left ring finger. This is the proper finger when wearing a wedding ring. I also noted in my last video that this version of McCartney appears too short to be Billy. Bill stands at 6 feet 2 inches and perhaps an inch or two smaller these days due to age, and he and his son James are close in height. Here we can clearly see this iteration of the McCartney character is much smaller than James. Let's move to the next slide. Now, when we mirror the image, we can see the belt buckle is now oriented to the left of the body and the wedding band is on the right hand ring finger. Now, we can say he wears his belt differently than most men, but the wedding band on the right ring finger is out of the ordinary and unusual. This is evidence that the photo was not mirrored. These details, coupled with the obvious height difference, leads me to believe we are looking at one of Bill's doubles, which Memoirs claims he still uses. Let's pause for a moment and summarize. The original image with the cocked big toe on the left foot versus the right was not mirrored. If it were mirrored, the belt buckle would be pointing in the wrong direction and the wedding band would have moved from the left-hand ring finger to the right-hand ring finger. These are indicators that the image was not doctored. And last, it's possible we are looking at Billy's double. Let's move to the next slide. Here's another photo that was forwarded to me. This comes from Billy's Facebook site. There are a couple of details to note before we get started with the analysis. His ring finger hand is not in view, so we cannot see the wedding band. His toes appear normal, with perhaps the left big toe being cocked slightly upward. And we see 2 guitars in the image, a Hofner bass and an acoustic, both of which are left-handed versions of these guitars. When I isolated this image, I notice a very high degree of pixelization around the feet. This level of pixelization around the feet does not exist in the rest of the image. Therefore, it is possible this image was photoshopped to cover up any anomalies with the feet or toes. Now let's go back to the original image and look at the guitars. Again, we see a left-handed Hofner bass and a left-handed acoustic guitar, which is what we would expect since Paul is a lefty. When we mirror the image, we can see the guitars are now right-handed. Why would McCartney have right-handed guitars in the room? The answer is he wouldn't, and therefore the original image was not mirrored. Here's a close-up of the bass and the acoustic guitar. The picture on the left shows the instruments are left-handed and thus the correct orientation for a left-handed musician. The image on the right is mirrored and has flipped the guitars to look right-handed. I'm stepping through this particular image to explain how other details in a photo can help us assess the authenticity of what we are looking at. And now let's pause for a moment and summarize. The area around the feet in the previous image showing Faul with his feet in the air contains heavy pixelization. This is an indication of image altering. This might be done to conceal any abnormalities concerning the big toe as seen in other images. It is also a method to condition and obfuscate. Also, it is unlikely the image was mirrored. The left-handed bass and acoustic guitar in the original image is what we would expect to see since McCartney is left-handed. And when we mirror the image, the guitars become right-handed, which we should not see since McCartney is a lefty. Now let's move to the analysis of the feet. Let's take another look at the images of Mr. Six Toes to refresh our memories. The picture on the left, we see Faul has 6 toes on his left foot. The picture on the right, we see 6 toes on the right foot. Also, notice how Linda's feet are positioned. Her left foot is cocked upward and her right foot is pointing down, showing 5 toes. Is this a subliminal message? Is she telegraphing to us that there is a 5-toe version of Faul with a cocked toe, as she sits with a version of McCartney with 6 toes? One thing I have learned from researching this conspiracy is this: the clues are everywhere and hidden in plain sight. My original presentation showing a McCartney character with 6 toes is on the left with Faul in his birthday suit. A subscriber sent me the second picture where the image is identical except now he's wearing shorts. I believe the image on the right is the original version, and someone got a little overzealous with their imagination and created the birthday suit picture on the left. This also serves as an example of how these images are doctored and fudged and then make their way across the internet. Here is another image I had in my previous presentation where we have Mr. Six Toes in the studio with George, along with a close-up of his right foot with the toes numbered 1 through 6. Now here's where things get interesting. Another researcher that I correspond with sent me this image. This is a drawing by John Lennon. Here we see a person, drawn like a monster, with 6 toes on his right foot and a cocked big toe on his left foot. In the previous slide, Linda had her left foot cocked upward while sitting with a 6-toed Faul. Is John telling us there are 2 versions of McCartney, one having 6 toes and another with 5 toes and a cocked big toe? And we see the monster playing right-handed and reading music. Bio Paul was left-handed and could not read music. And what does the monster represent in the sketch? Could it be someone that was created, like Frankenstein? Let's move to the next slide. Ringo gave us a monster clue back in 1972 with the release of Back Off Boogaloo. Per memoirs, Billy likes Boogaloo, which is a genre of Latin music and dance that was popular in the United States in the 1960s. Here Ringo has Frankenstein on the record sleeve, and we all know Frankenstein was created by bringing the dead back to life. In this case, the dead is biological Paul, who was brought back to life when Billy assumed the McCartney role. We see the monster smoking with his left hand, representing Bio Paul being left-handed. There are also shackles on the left hand, which could be interpreted as Billy being chained to the McCartney character. I believe Ringo was telling us that Billy is an illusion. He is a manufactured entity. Here's another of Lennon's drawings. Very interesting. Who is that person in the chair with the cocked big toe on his right foot and what appears to be 5 toes and not 6? Why, it sure looks a lot like Vivian Stanshall to me. And notice what's written on the sketch. Why not? I will suggest John was telling us Billy is Viv. A couple of listeners sent me stills from Billy's Lonely Road video. During the video, we get a view of what we assume are his feet. The problem, however, is we are never sure if the feet are Billy's. This is because the video will show him singing and then immediately cut to the feet without seeing the whole body. So we have to assume these are his feet and not the feet of another person. But even if it's not his feet in the video, there is a reason why we are shown his foot. The still on the left shows 5 toes on the right foot, and the large toe does not appear to be cocked upward. The still on the right side of the slide shows us the right foot again, but with what appears to be the stump or base of where another toe once existed. It's very strange. Now let's take a closer look at these two video captures. I don't know about you, but this looks very odd to me. In fact, the image on the right appears to show scar tissue. What's going on here? In the video Quay, we are shown the feet once again. The image on the left shows Faul's left foot and it looks normal. The image on the right is his right foot and there does appear to be a slight upward lift to his big toe. The whole thing is very weird and it's as if Billy is baiting us to solve the puzzle. Here's an image I found where Faul, and I believe this to be Billy because of his height, he's around 6 feet 2 inches, perhaps a bit shorter due to age these days, and his wife Nancy, who is 5'10", and we can see his right big toe is cocked upward. Very interesting. Here's an image from Billy's Twitter account from St. Patrick's Day 2017. Note the image on the right. His big toe on his right foot is cocked upward again. Here's a photo that was sent to me by a listener. It is allegedly a photo by Linda McCartney of Faul's feet. Notice the reddish-orange leg and foot hair, and the feet appear effeminate. Since the photo does not show the rest of the body, we cannot know for sure if this is Faul. But again, why are we seeing pictures of his feet? Take a look at the feet on this version of McCartney. A long foot, 5 toes, and no cocked big toe. He also appears shorter than Lennon, and we know Billy was at least the same height as John. Is this another double? So what can we make of all this? Well, we know that Faul likes to show his feet. This is undoubtedly a clue. There is a 6-toe version of Faul and a 5-toe version. Sometimes the big toe is cocked upward, and sometimes it's not. We have images where the upturned toe is on the right foot, and other times it's on the left. And it certainly appears some images of the feet have been doctored. The Lonely Road video shows a foot that looks like there may have been surgery to remove a toe. We also have feet with reddish-orange hair and look effeminate, and another image showing long toes with no obvious abnormalities. So what is going on, and what can we conclude? The conclusion is we focus on Paul's feet. Everything else is a distraction. Paul had 5 toes and no foot anomalies or disorders. Feet that do not look like Paul's only proves there are other characters playing the part of McCartney. Now let's move to the next slide and take a look at some comparisons. Here's the first collage. Image number 1 is biological Paul's foot. Now pause the video and take a moment to compare his feet to the other images. It's not even close. Here's collage number 2. Again, position number 1 is biological Paul. Numbers 2 through 6 are not the same feet. When comparing picture number 1 with picture number 3, focus on the toes. The toes in number 3 have the cocked big toe and the toes also appear hammered. Perhaps this is what John meant in Come Together with the lyric Toe Jam Football. And that concludes the feet and toe analysis. Now let's summarize the findings. Always maintain the base reference, which is biological Paul. The person is either Paul or they are not. Easily identifiable differences in features means the person is not biological Paul. As I have shown, the feet are very different. Therefore, there are different and multiple versions of McCartney. The images of different feet, just like the other altered and doctored McCartney photos across the internet, are designed to confuse. Don't take the bait. Stay focused. Different feet means different people. Different people means more than one McCartney. Before we get into the Michael Jackson latex clip, here's a screen capture of a scene from Billy's video Who Cares?, which is immersed in Illuminati symbolism. When we combine the newspaper with the handwritten note, Billy tells us he was never a fan of the old Paul. And the umbrella reference is mind control symbolism. Take a look on the Beatles 65 album cover where all 4 Beatles are holding umbrellas, and of course 65 is 6 plus 5 or 11. And to wrap up, I will leave you with a video showing how latex and cosmetics can totally transform the physical appearance of someone, in this case Michael Jackson. Many people do not understand latex has been around a long time. Foam latex was used extensively in the 1930s for The Wizard of Oz. Foam latex is soft, lightweight, and is an excellent material for facial prosthetics. It has since been used extensively in television and stage productions. Per memoirs, Billy used latex extensively to transform into his Paul McCartney character. Watch this clip as Michael Jackson transforms into an entirely different look. The comment section is open. Non-value add comments will be deleted and blocked from the channel. And with that, here's the video, and thanks for listening.